This video is sponsored by Sakura Co. and Tokyo Treat. What makes someone impactful? Is it their sheer strength and abilities that can make them seem untouchable? Or maybe their charisma and confidence that inspires others to be like them? Well, the answer tends to fall somewhere in between, as characters of this nature tend to act as sort of a flame that burns bright to light the path for others who follow them. And the flame pillar of Kimetsu no Yaiba, Kyojuro Rengoku, is one of these beloved brilliance and bronze blazing infernos who impacts everyone he's interacted with. Though, what drives a person to become an icon of this nature? Is it something that they choose to be, or a path they have no other choice but to take? The spring season is nearly here, and in Japan, there are many different festivals and celebrations welcoming it right around the corner, with the most famous of this being the Sakura festivals. And today's sponsor, Sakura Co. and Tokyo Treats, wants to help bring those celebrations home with you. Tokyo Treats is a monthly box service filled with the latest exclusive seasonal flavors and Japanese snacks. Be it either special flavored Kit Kats to Pocky, everything that you want, and it's all picked via a monthly theme. And this month's theme is Supremely Sakura, which is a celebration of the Sakura festivals as I previously mentioned. Though, if you're more interested in authentic or traditional snacks created by some of Japan's best snack artisans, well, you can check out Sakura Co., a similar monthly box service that is doing a similar monthly theme, that being Sakura festivals. And included in each of these boxes is a little booklet detailing not only the snacks inside and where they came from, but also interesting trivia about both Japan and how it relates to this month's theme. Now, if any of this interested you at all, you can check out the description below to find out more. This video contains spoilers for both the entirety of Kimetsu no Yaiba and also the Kimetsu no Yaiba guidance stories. So if you want to avoid spoilers, you have been warned. Kyojiro Rengoku is one of the most impactful characters in the whole of Kimetsu no Yaiba. He was an apotheosis of personality, whose skills as a demon slayer and passion-driven confidence all but radiated from him, leading him to make long-term connections with just about every major character in the series, from his fellow pillars like Tengen and Kanroji, who both idolized him in some way, to the main cast of Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke all being inspired by Rengoku's talents. Even demons like Akuza took one look at Kyojiro and saw him as an immensely talented individual, though the path that led him to that point is just as important as his end result. But before we get too into that, let's understand the meaning behind his name and design. Kyojiro Rengoku is one of the best examples of Gotoge's naming themes when it comes to Kimetsu no Yaiba, with both parts of his name being able to be directly tied into his character and his design. Starting first with his given name, Kyojiro, with the Kyo portion of his name meaning apricot, which is a plum blossom in Japan that starts off green but ripens into a fiery red and yellow fruit that matches Kyojiro's own hair color. Though, interestingly enough, there's actually an in-universe explanation for Kyojiro, let alone the entire Rengoku family's own fiery hair, and this is due to a family tradition called kankagari, or flame viewing. Kankagari is a process that takes place every 7 months during pregnancy, where the wives of a Rengoku family member stares into a blazing flame of a large torch for roughly 2 hours. This process is said to be the origin of the family's fiery hair color and help connect their children to the powerful art of flame breathing. Though it seems very clear that he was inspired in some way by the fruit, as apricot is a fruit in Japan that symbolizes both sorrow but also fortune and the passing of knowledge, which works well with the Joro portion of his name, which essentially means longevity, as even past the point in his death, Kyojiro was always living on in the people that he inspired, the knowledge that he passed down. It's also befitting that the fate of Kyojiro's death is one of both sorrowful sadness of seeing someone in their prime cut down too early, but also one of fortune as the courage that he brings Tanjiro and his friends lasts longer than anything else. From here we can move on to his family name, Rengoku, which when broken down, we have Rin, which means to smelt iron or to train oneself, which matches very well with the Rengoku family's own intense training to master the flame-breathing style. And then we have the Goku portion of his name, which means hell or prison, which works well in 2 ways. First, symbolically, the family name Rengoku carries with it a lot of expectations. Someone from the Rengoku family is not only expected to become a demon slayer, but to master the flame-breathing style, which in itself can be viewed as a metaphorical prison. Though together, Rengoku itself also means purgatory, which is likely chosen in reference to the Buddhist purgatory, also known as the hell realms of Naraka, which is a part of the life cycle in Buddhist mythology, and within the hot Naraka, souls are purified of their negative karma through intense purification flames, so the name itself is likely in reference to those flames. And this aspect of their family name is in direct reference to their family's traditional technique, the Breath of Flame style. The Breath of Flames is one of the major 5 core elemental offshoots of the sun-breathing style. Those who are born with an affinity for this style will see their Nichiren blade change into a bright reddish orange, with Kyojiro's blade having a black decal that gave the blade a sort of flame-like design to it. The hilt of his sword also had a flame handguard that ended up being passed down like a literal passing of the torch, which again matches up with his passing of knowledge aspect of his name. Now, the motions of Breath of Flame seem to be based on Myugai Ryu, or the outer nothingness, which is a style that mixes together the user's enlightenment with their training, as the style got its name from a poem that spoke of the one true way in Zen Buddhism, and how it will act as a guiding light that will enlighten its practitioner. One practitioner of this style focuses on powerful single slashes called the Myugai Ryu Iaido, and the katas of Breath of Flame also seem to be in reference to this specific form. Along with this, each of the katas' names in the Breath of Flame hold some sort of meaning to them, so let's go through each and explain why they are named the way they are. Starting first, of course, with the first kata, Unknown Fire or Shiranui, where the user draws their blade and in one swift movement dashes forward to decapitate their target in a single slash. The name of this kata comes from an optical phenomenon named the Shiranui or Unknown Flames, which is a ghost flame that appears at night and floats just above the water, and no matter how close someone tries to get to it, it's always the same distance away from you as it was when you began. They were also once thought to be created by Ryujin, the dragon god of the sea, and act as sort of spiritual lanterns, though its status as an optical illusion works very well thematically for its first use in Demon Slayer, as Kyojiro uses it to defeat a demon on the train, which was later revealed to have taken place entirely within a dream, making the debut usage of this technique itself an illusion. Then we move on to the second kata, Rising Scorching Sun. This is mostly a defensive maneuver where, in response to an attack, the user can bring their sword upwards in an arcing shape to mimic that of the sun, though it can also be used to strike opponents at higher elevations to your current location. Now, the name in Japanese contains the word Nobori, which is harmonious with a type of war flag that was raised during major battles in the Sengoku Jidai. So, I feel that the first original usage of Rising Scorching Sun, taking place during the battle with Akuza, is a way of showing that this fight with the demon will change the status quo. Then we move on to the third kata, Blazing Universe. This is a Kisagiri-like overhead slash downwards, designed to cleave directly through its target. It's actually visually similar to the second kata, but done in reverse. The design is to be as offensive as possible, as it utilizes a swordsman's strongest asset, gravity. Now, the name of the attack is interesting, as it's possibly in reference to the origin of flames in Japanese mythos, that being Kagatsushi, whose birth caused his mother great strife, as she was burned by his eternal flames so severely that she needed to depart to the underworld. And though while it wasn't Kyojiro who caused this effect on his mother, his younger brother, Senjiro's birth, seemed to have caused his mother to fall ill with an unknown disease, and eventually she would pass away from it. And with the Rengoku name being connected to purification, it makes sense that Kyojiro would have some connection to the Kagatsuchi, as he was worshipped as a great purifier, though there is also already a direct reference to the fire god in Hinokami Kagura, so much so that Breath of Flames is written as Hono instead of Hino, to avoid any confusion between the two. But this is mostly just my guess at the meaning behind the name, as it should be stated that Blazing Universe is an original creation by the anime for the Mugen Train movie, and doesn't appear in the manga at all, so its naming theme might be different from the rest of the actual series. Following this, we have the fourth kata, Blooming Flame Undulation, which is a defensive style where the user swings their blade in a circular motion in order to defend from multiple strikes coming at them at once. Also, the movement of the blade allows the sword to cleanly slice through any attacker that would overextend and get too close. It also allows the user to leave the blade in an upper defensive position, prepared to switch into a upper offensive attack. And now, the attack shape matches a popular depiction of the sun, which is a spiral surrounded by flames. And the name itself seems like it was chosen to represent the unbiased nature of fire, as a flame can both serve to harm anyone who's close to it, but also help warm and soothe those who have it under control. Then we have the 5th kata, Flame Tiger. This is an attack that combines together 3 different slashes into a single movement, to mimic that of a tiger's mouth biting down. Interestingly enough, it is comprised of the first 2 katas as well as a 3rd overhead slash that could retroactively be considered the 3rd kata that was added with the movie. Now this attack opens up with the first kata's spiral, and then you move into the 2nd kata's, and then you create the lower jaw of the tiger using the 2nd kata, only to finish off with the upper jaw biting down with an overhead slash. Now, the name of this attack is likely in reference to the 5 elemental tigers of Asian mythos, and more specifically the fire tiger, whose personality also seems to match very well with Kyojiro's. Then finally we move on to the final kata in the Breath of Flames shown off in the series, this being the 9th kata, Rengoku. This style begins with the swordsmen raising their sword above their head into a high position, before putting all of their force into a dash forward at their target, during which they spin their blade around in a spiral shape in a similar manner to the 4th kata multiple times until they reach their target's location and bring their blade down with an explosive force that could cleave through most anything. It is described as a move where the user puts everything into it, be it their body, their spirit, and even their life force, also that they can unleash a single devastating blow in an offensive cyclone of attacks. And the only downside of this attack is that it leaves your body unprotected. Thus, demons who survive the initial force of the blow could counterattack with fatal consequences. Now, the name itself, of course, comes from the same place as Kyojiro's family name, that being the Purifying Flames of Nuraka, and it's done to show how intertwined the Breath of Flames is with the Rengoku family by naming the final attack in the breathing style the family's last name. Now, sadly, even with 2 different spin-off materials made about Kyojiro specifically, we still don't know what the 6th through 8th katas for Breath of Flames are. Though this could be done intentionally, as after his father retired, but before Kyojiro could finish his training, the records from the previous Flame Pillars of the past were destroyed, with Kyojiro only being able to read the first 3 volumes on his own. So it's possible that his education was incomplete and thus those katas were lost to time. Though, even with this incomplete knowledge of the Breath of Flames, Kyojiro still continues down a path of becoming a demon slayer, with an intense desire to help others. He would easily pass final selection, alongside 2 other slayers who quickly became his friends. They would train together and even learn sign language to communicate quietly with each other when on a hunt. His talents and positive attitude in a way became a flame for these people and helped guided them, and their bonds would become a tool that would help Kyojiro on his first real mission, when he was sent as a reinforcement to check out 9 missing slayers, with his 2 friends being included among the missing. And it's here he would encounter the flute-playing demon, resting upon a pile of bodies Kyojiro was sent to find. His ability seemed invincible as well, being able to scramble the brain's reaction times by causing the body to move unintentionally with his music. But, thanks to his friend's dying message communicated entirely through sign language, Kyojiro was able to counter the flute demon's ability by bursting his own eardrums, and ends up slaying a demon who was on the path to becoming one of the 12 moon demons in a single strike. He would also save a young girl who was trapped under the corpses of his fallen friends. This event inspired Kyojiro to become someone who could act as selflessly as his friends did that day. And thus, Kyojiro continued down his path of training, slaying demons, and saving lives, until he met Mitsuri Kanroji, a young girl who joined the Corps to help find purpose in her life, and was put under the care of the Rengoku family. Here, Kanroji swore to become Kyojiro's successor in flame-breathing style, if he were to ever die, and together the two were sent to Tokyo on a mission to prove themselves to the Pillars. Here they encountered the Lower Moon Second, Hiro, a wolf demon with unfinished business that was left behind by the drunkard of a flame pillar that is Kyojiro's father. And during their encounter, both Kyojiro and Kanroji's talents would take shape, being both the birth of the love-breathing style and Kyojiro's first usage of the 9th style, Rengoku. And with him defeating one of the 12 moon demons and proving himself as the Slayer, Kyojiro was awarded the title of Flame Pillar, and at the same time, Kanroji would seemingly turn down her position as his successor and pursue her own path as the Love Pillar. This again left Kyojiro without a successor, though he doesn't let his hardship show, always wearing a confident smile in the face of adversity. But even when his father calls his achievements worthless, Kyojiro continues his work as a demon slayer because to him it was never about titles or recognition, but more so about saving lives of those who can't protect themselves, along with fueling the flame inside everyone so that they can burn half as bright as him. As it's an understatement to say that Kyojiro was talented. He not only was able to learn and master a breathing style only using partial information from it, but his physical abilities are sharpened to superhuman levels. Being able to run at speeds that match a demon whose entire gimmick was being fast, using total concentration breathing, and having the physical strength to manhandle demons like Akaza right into his dying breath. And when he combined these skills together, Kyojiro was able to successfully defend 5 separate train cars all at the same time during the Mugen train fight. He prevented any civilian casualties as well when the train crashed. He also has an incredibly strong 6th sense for danger, being able to feel the presence of a demon the moment they enter his sight, or being able to unconsciously detect a threat on his life and react to it. As seen best when he was trapped in a dream world, he gets up and chokes his attacker before they have a chance to destroy his eternal core, even though he didn't even know they were there. Though his most important feature comes in his indomitable will, as Kyojiro stands firmly behind what he believes in and never lies, even if his opinion would upset the person he was talking to, seen in his views on Nezuko during the Pillar meeting, though he was always willing to lend a hand to those who asked. Kyojiro never turned down someone requesting to be his successor, even actively seeking out people to take under his wing, though his training was just too rough and most people who signed up washed out. He essentially wanted to become the man he believed his father was, and this talent to effortlessly become a leader was one that impressed his fellow pillars, especially Tengen. Kyojiro idolized the mentality of acting in the moment, going with what you believe in, and not worrying about what consequences may come. He says it best himself: life is a series of decisions, and you will never be given unlimited options or unlimited time to think. So it's what you choose in that instant that defines who you are as a person, and he chooses to risk his life to save others, not because he wants something out of it, but simply because he feels he must. And this is thanks to his late mother's message to him that Rengoku should use his natural gifts not for himself, but to protect those in need. Which is why Kyojiro denies any offer for power and rejects the lure of immortality. He doesn't need it. Mortality is what gives him purpose. He is a blazing inferno of talent, strength, and willpower who shines brighter than anyone in his field, but the flame who burns twice as bright lasts half as long. But even in Kyojiro's death, his burning will sparks off and ignites the fire in Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu. And we can see the spark literally represented in the physical form of the flame hilt passed on to Tanjiro. Kyojuro Rengoku is one of the most important characters in the whole of Demon Slayer, and his death serves an important role in the narrative, as it not only establishes stakes that even those as immensely talented as Rengoku was can die, but it also plays up the threat level of the Upper Moon demons, showing just how deadly Akaza is the best thing that they can do. But beyond just establishing the threat of the series, his death also helps motivate those he impacted to become better than they once were. From Tanjiro surpassing Kyojiro in talent by the end of the series, to his own father Shinjiro finally sobering up from his loss. Along with this, some interesting details about Kyojiro's own career as a demon slayer. He has been involved with multiple moon demon deaths, though they were all lower moon demons. From the second ranked lower moon that he killed to become a pillar, to his assistance on killing the first ranked lower moon demon in Enmu, to even the flute demon being the first one that he killed himself on his first true mission, as the flute demon was nearing moon status themselves. Along with this, his first mission and his last mission had the same premise and a similar antagonist, as he was sent out to investigate the disappearance of multiple demon slayers and ended up fighting a demon who could manipulate the body using some form of the five senses. Though coolest of all the people that Kyojiro was closest to take part in some way in the final assault that brings Muzan down. From his former successor Kanroji holding the Demon King in place with their immense physical strength, to Tanjiro carrying a blade designed similar to Kyojiro's, right down to the hilt being the same handguard, along with the blade glowing crimson red in its final moments, right down to even the Serpent Pillar taking a fatal blow for Tanjiro in a similar fashion to Kyojiro's own father, saving them. In the end, his impact on the series goes far beyond just his role in a single arc in the story. He is single-handedly one of the most important characters in the series, and is clearly beloved, as he has received 2 separate one-shot stories, which are major events in his life, and even one of them is one that Gitoge has always been wanting to tell. Alongside this, he's also one of the main stars in the most successful animated movie in Japanese history. Kyojuro Rengoku is a flame of inspiration for generations to come, and it's good to see that for all his hard work in the face of his endless adversity, we see that in the peaceful future that the series ends on, Kyojiro gets to be reincarnated into the fiery Kendo Club star student and best friend of Sumihiko Kameda, Tojiro Rengoku. Because even if the flame is extinguished, the light shall always remain. Now I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos like it in the future, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/MediNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to find your own flame of courage, well, you can do so by buying a copy of Shimaneta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist at buyshimaneta.com.